Greetings, Mason Storm here. On today's episode we're going to look at making some fried bread. Now I was originally going to make some naan bread, but I didn't have any yogurt, so this is the best I could do. Our ingredients to make such bread consist of 1 teaspoon of salt, 2.5 tablespoons of baking powder, 1 cup of milk, and 2 cups of flour. Okay, time to get the process started. Get our large mixing bowl. Strainer on top. We're going to strain half of our flour, and then we're going to dump the baking powder in on top, and then add the rest of the flour. If you don't have a really big strainer like this, you probably just need to strain, or sift I should say, the baking powder, because you don't want any lumps in that. Flour is generally not as important. I mean, this isn't some fancy pastry or anything where it's got to be super duper perfect. This is fried bread, because we didn't have yogurt to make naan bread. Am I the only one who thinks that naan bread is a logic gate? I don't know. Either way, time to add our salt. Perfect. And of course, our last ingredient, our milk. Now I was gonna pour half of it in and start mixing it, but I saw how wet it was and I figured why not just go for it. So I just went at it with the wooden spoon and just started mixing away. And something to be aware of when you're making breads like this, you kind of just go till it's mixed and then you stop. Whereas if you keep going, you can kind of make the bread a little bit harder. Because the more you work the dough, the harder it will eventually become. So we just kind of do a bit of a stir to combine and move on to the next step. So now I'm going to get the pan on the stove top. I'm going to go for a medium heat. And then we're going to put a little bit of oil in the pan. This will aid our frying and add some enhancement to the flavor of the bread in the end state product format. Now we're just going to let our pan heat up, and then we can start working on getting our bread inside of the pan. So I'm just going to take a handful of it and roll it into a ball and then throw it on the pan. But you can really do this in a lot of different sizes. And as far as cooking goes, the flatter it is, probably the better it's going to cook. Whereas if it's actually cooking as a ball, it might be a little bit difficult to cook the center of it. So I kind of do little balls and then I try to flatten them out. Now it was quite hard to flatten them before flipping it, because it was so sticky that it just stuck to me like crazy. So the technique that I found that worked really good was to actually wait till it's done cooking one side and then flip it over and then kind of press down on it with the turner lifter object. And that allowed for better control over the flatness and the thickness of the bread, so that the middles of the bread would cook to the desired amount, which was just fantastic. I really enjoyed the process. Now I'm making some of these bigger than the other ones because I was feeling a little bit lazy and figured, if I did bigger ones, it would I wouldn't have to make as many batches, which was definitely true. But I don't know. It's up to you. You can do it however you want. And I found that the bigger ones, like afterwards, I enjoyed them more than the smaller ones. There was just more I could do with them. Whatever you want to have with your fried bread when you're done, whether it's some sort of jam, sort of gravy, cheese, sour cream, however you want to decorate them. Incredibly easy to make and a very flexible recipe. I'm really curious as to why I've never really embraced fried bread before. This has to be one of the easiest and best tasting things I've ever made for the least amount of effort. Like, it's just crazy. And you can see the ones that I flipped, that I kind of flipped them and kind of give them a little bit of a press down, so they're a little bit bigger now than they were when I flipped them, and that'll let them cook a little bit better. So we're just going to cook these probably 2-3 minutes aside, flip them, cook them another 2 or 3 minutes, and then they should be done. Of course I did another flip and then cooked them a little bit more, because I wanted to have a perfect golden brown texture to the bottoms of the bread. Bottoms and the tops, of course. And it's quite good. It's quite delicious. The texture of the fried bread was just amazing. Now, something I'm curious about is what would happen if I were to deep fry these. That might be another video, but it just was something I was thinking about while I was making these, because it turned out so good with just frying them. It's like, well, you know, what's better than frying? Well, deep frying. You know that because it's like frying but deeper. Either way, so that's the end of this one. So let me know what you thought of my conventionally fried bread and what you think I should do next. If you like my content, please like and subscribe and ring that bell. And until next time, stay awesome.